Let's get started. Let me first introduce myself. My name is Anthony Ng. I lead the business for Silent Push across Asia Pacific and Japan. And with me is today's speaker, Ken Wagner, Silent Push founder and CEO. I would like to do a quick introduction. Ken found Silent Push to provide a preemptive cyber defense platform that provides indicators of future attack. Previously, Ken, started email laundry many years ago, and it was acquired by Fine in 2017, where he served as a VP of products. He's an active investor and advisor in cybersecurity, and has spent his career helping organizations stay ahead of advanced threat.
Thanks, Anthony. Really appreciate it. Hi, everybody, and thanks for coming on for today's webinar. So the main thing that we're really trying to achieve here is to change how people approach and try and defend themselves from emerging threat actors during a time when the threat landscape is changing at a rate that we've never seen before. And, thankfully, we actually have quite a lot of new abilities that weren't available to defenders before as well. So we need to make sure that we match those new capabilities to defend ourselves from the much faster evolving landscape that we're trying to deal with. So I think historically, a lot of security information was only available as post-breach information or even post-attack information. And obviously, we have been the people behind an awful lot of different cybersecurity products over the years and detection products on the edge. So we're, fully aware of exactly how things work behind the scenes. And, all defense information has always been really based on the fact that somebody had to be patient zero before you had detection rules in place for something that was new. And that, of course, has become very problematic as the rapid pace and how cheap it is for attackers to set up and evolve their infrastructure has changed. So a new approach is really needed in order to be able to see adversary infrastructure before it hit anybody. And of course, that's a very difficult thing to achieve. So, a kind of a large change in how we thought about things was really necessary. So now using our preemptive approach, which we'll get into how we do this, we have been successfully stopping patient zero attacks, from nation state groups and the large crime groups, on a regular basis, right? So, in the last couple of weeks, we have stopped a large number of government agencies as well as financial crime groups from getting into our customers. So that includes, Gamardon from the Russian GRU, the North Koreans in a number of different guises, which we'll get into during our talk. But also the services that are services to the different crime groups, such as traffic redirection services, etc., that are commonly used by these crime groups, are also detectable at scale. So we'll get into how we see some of that, right? So we'll give some overall strategic context about the whole approach to this and how these changes are capable, the new tools that are available to us and to all of you, and really then some exact examples of different crime groups, how they manage their infrastructure, what we can do to see that before they launch different campaigns, and then how you can take advantage of all of that, right? So as I said, traditionally, detection was very reliant on somebody getting hit or attacked, right? Even if it was sandbox infrastructure, something had to hit there, it would detonate, reach out to the threat actor infrastructure, and that's the first time someone would see it. Like it had to hit someone before any of the security companies had a chance to see it. So traditional defenses really would always miss early stage adversary infrastructure. Because you also have the fractured security landscape in that everybody has different vendors on their edge. So people are, seeing a biased view of only whatever hits particular security vendors. The security vendor can only work from what they see. So that was always something that we struggled with ourselves in the past when we were, in those kind of endpoint security products. Uh, So with the adversary now scaling with automation, like at a level we've never seen before, and we're going to show you some of their techniques that they're using and how large the scale of this infrastructure is. It really requires us to get well ahead because the gap was getting bigger and bigger. And I think everybody has started to realize that we do have to go after these preemptive defense strategies and really go out to where the adversary is and see what they're doing as they do it before they come into our organizations. And of course, that's easier said than done, right? Uh, but particularly, I think there's a heavy focus on uh, the financial sector. So it requires more care, I think, than other sectors. So we're really here to try and focus on that and to help with that. So as IBM X Force were saying, 67% of attacks were detected after initial access was already gained. So the adversary was in the environment and had, successfully got in before detection. So that's problematic, right? And we really need to do better than that. We can't, you know, use incident response as a defense strategy. But in order to kind of flip this around, it's quite difficult, right? So we have to stop only using historical indicators of compromise as an example, and actually, create a new type of information, which is the indicator of future attacks. So what is the adversary setting up before he has launched it? Um, and that's a very, very different and very difficult thing to do. But by creating these indicators of future attack, it gives us like a view of adversary infrastructure in the staging stage. And depending on the type of infrastructure that is and who it's going to be used by and what it's going to be used for, it can be a very long period of time that we get to watch it before it's used. Um, because, in reality, some of the APT groups are aging their infrastructure for a year before they use it to make it seem more stable and valid when it's used. But it's quite possible that we'll actually have been monitoring it for the entire year before they do launch anything. And then obviously with some, you know, pseudo outfits or groups of people who do more flexible, faster types of attack, like scattered spider. We are looking at only having a matter of hours really to see something in advance and to implement something. Um, but we also managed to thwart their intentions. Um, so how do you do this? Because great to say in theory, but in practice, there's a couple of very large logical problems that you have to cross before you can actually implement something like this. So really, we have to monitor all technical relationships changing every day on the internet, which is a ridiculously large task, right? But only by looking at this and doing change detection on all infrastructure, can we begin to narrow down and cluster behaviors into different groups of people managing different infrastructure for different use cases. And there's an enormous variety of types of crime infrastructure or APT group infrastructure. Um, so it requires very, very different tactics and techniques on our part in order to identify and be able to see their what we call pre-attack TTPs of how they manage their external infrastructure that they're going to use uh, in the future. So we have this, what I call a triocular view of changing technical relationships on the internet every day, right? So one is changing relationships in DNS, which is very critical for our view of things. And I'll give you more insight into that in a minute. Then as we monitor, domains being set up and assigned to an automation pattern where they're moving across IP space, perhaps, uh, or you'll see particular types of name server changes occur in a close to attack scenario. We also monitor then the end of the record. So, does a server get set up on the end of an MX record or an A record? And what sort of responses do we get from that? And then, of course, finally, does content get thrown up there? And how does that fingerprint, etc. And how does that change over time? And monitoring the three of these gives us a very particular view of infrastructure as a whole. And we're monitoring everything, right? So it's not like we're monitoring what we think to be crime infrastructure. We monitor everything that exists, and then we filter it down uh, to clusters of behavior that we believe to be crime infrastructure. So it looks kind of like this, right? So there's obviously lots and lots of different data products you can try and buy for step one yourself to try and see things like you can get historical DNS, you can get access to certificates, you can get access to scanning data. Um, However, we are a very, very aggressive data collector, and we do everything from first principles ourselves. We don't buy any data from anybody else because it just never it's never created the way we need it to be created, nor is it stealthy enough in its collection for us to be sure that the crime groups have not blocked the data collection method in the first place. So we do all of this ourselves from first principles. Uh, and in a way, this is not as important as step two, because for us, everything is about change detection. And the difference between, you know, scanning the internet and seeing static scans and change detection is, the same as the difference between algebra and calculus when you're doing maths. It's a very different view of everything and allows you a far more dynamic view of what matters. Because the only way we can map this to organizational behaviors, right, and the processes of these different crime groups is by being able to identify and search for change patterns. And that's incredibly important because it's a very different thing. If you're really going to be able to identify the processes of an APT group or something, you've got to have a way of searching for change patterns uh, and clustering them so that we know what it is. But when we implement these three steps, we can create indicators of future attack, which is us monitoring them as they are setting up and managing their infrastructure and approaching the moment of launching a campaign in very real time. So it's quite a large difference in what used to be available to security companies in the first place in order to detect threat actor infrastructure. Um, but I guess it's in a way it's a new science, right? Because I think we have like over 150 different methods of identifying different patterns. So we'll go through a couple of them to give people an idea, but it's quite a complex area. So, in order to get things early, or earlier than they used to, right? So, if you imagine indicators of compromises on the very, very right of this timeline, the earliest we can really detect stuff is when we see the management fingerprints in changing DNS records. Um, because if you imagine it's your first day at threat actors or us and they're training you how to manage the domains, they'll say, right, we've rented 6 subnets across these different hosting providers, and all of our domains are going to move across the IPs on those subnets. So even though there isn't anything there yet, we can see that pattern, right? And that's a very, very good fingerprint, right? The both the rate of change of a domain across IP space, but also the fact that it's moving through a select number of um, different subnets, groups together some infrastructure in a very good way for us. Um, and then, of course, we are looking for infrastructure associated with that. When do servers get set up? Do they get set up in a particular way first, and then changes happen to indicate that they have, so something might be set up in a default way and then change to have, Evil Engine X or something on it, right? So these will give us more different types of fingerprints as something is approaching being live crime infrastructure. We have a whole bunch of uh, reverse fingerprinting. So where, we have honey nets, etc., where we're looking for people to scan us and we're fingerprinting their infrastructure that is scanning us, etc., right? But there's a whole range of tools we have in that regard because we also do mapping of residential proxies, orb networks, etc., that are used by the crime groups. The last step for us, though, is content changes. So for phishing pages or control panels, etc., being able to fingerprint them, which are largely to confirm what we already thought at the start. That this is whatever group and this is what it's being used for. But once it's launched, it is active, and then it becomes an indicator of compromise after that, once it's starting to hit um, different people's infrastructure. So the aim is always to try and pick up the infrastructure as far to the left on this journey as possible. Uh, so some good examples of what you can see from this, right? So large crime groups like Triad Nexus, which is really uh, the largest crime group in the world, never mind cybercrime group, and they run um, crime as a service infrastructure for many, many cybercrime groups globally. So we actually monitor everything they do in real time, right? And that's had some pretty profound effects. There's been enormous number of arrests, etc., by Interpol through work we've done there. The US Treasury have put sanctions on people and companies as a result of the work we've done there. Um, but we have a very good view of everything that they do through some of these techniques. Uh, we can also see vulnerable infrastructure though of customers because we are monitoring everything that exists, and therefore you can also see what your own infrastructure like it looks like through our eyes. Um, but we are obviously looking for key threat actors and APT groups as well. We do allow, different customers to guide us in terms of if there are unknown groups that they want us to fingerprint uh, and track for them. We do that type of work as well. But we're always on the forefront in terms of emerging trends and identifying new problems or problems that other people are struggling to really get on top of. So really, we want to make sure that companies don't, leave everything to the IR team because only IR companies benefit from people leaving things till the post-breach situation. Uh, so now that all this information is available to people, it's a chance to preemptively defend yourself, get the information out into your blocking products, and actually block things in advance. I think we're going to continue to see the increase in pace from the threat actors. We've already seen a number of the crime groups setting up new, faster automation and increasing the complexity of how their infrastructure works. We've also seen one particular group stop putting up as much infrastructure at all and trying to switch everything to social engineering to stay away from well, we had foiled a number of their campaigns by identifying their infrastructure as they set it up. And then the next two campaigns, they didn't set up any infrastructure. It was all social engineering to support companies. So, some people will try and avoid setting up any technical infrastructure to avoid us seeing them. But I think the key thing that really needs to be kind of brought across the organization is that there is new data types available to defenders that puts us in a much better position than we used to be in. We really can monitor threat actors in the early preparation stages and see them in the staging stages and setting up their infrastructure. And the sooner you can get this into your security stack, the sooner we can help to also stop your organization being patient zero as well, right? Being the one that's hit first before everybody knows what to defend against.
Thank you, Ken. That was a great, topic to cover because I think it's new to a lot of people. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us for this session. And we will continue to produce interesting content that will help you in looking at preemptive cyber defense using preemptive intelligence from Silent Push. We have a community edition here that you can feel free to sign up, and we are running workshops if you're interested in our workshops to, give you some understanding how to use the community edition to do huntings and all that. Please leave a note with us, and we will definitely follow up and give you that the hands-on session. Thank you again for attending today, and have a good day. We look forward to the next session.